Story 1 of 10. Australia's 2026 federal budget focuses on tax reform, housing and intergenerational equity. Australia's 2026 federal budget focuses on tax reform, housing and intergenerational equity. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Treasurer Jim Chalmers will hand down the 2026 federal budget on May 12, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. AEST. The budget will include changes to negative gearing, limiting it to newly built homes from July 1, 2027, while grandfathering existing investments. The capital gains tax, CGT discount, will be replaced with an inflation-adjusted model from July 1, 2027, ending the 50% discount for assets held over 12 months. A minimum 30% tax rate will be applied to discretionary trust distributions from July 1, 2028. The budget will include $64 billion in savings and reprioritizations, with $35 billion cut from the National Disability Insurance Scheme, NDIS, over 4 years. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian and SMH report that the $250 annual tax offset for workers will be delayed until 2027-28, while news.com.au suggests it may be paid in the 2026-27 financial year. The Guardian and SMH state that the budget will include a $1,000 instant tax deduction starting July 1, 2026. But ABC notes it will come into effect for the 2027 tax season next year. The Guardian and SMH report that the budget will include $2.6 billion for the fuel excise cut, while news.com.au and ABC state the cost is $2.55 billion. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, news.com.au, Sydney Morning Herald and The Age.
Story 3 of 10. Donald Trump's 2026 China visit with US tech CEOs and AI policy discussions. Donald Trump's 2026 China visit with US tech CEOs and AI policy discussions. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Donald Trump will visit China this week, May 2026, for talks with Xi Jinping, marking the first US presidential visit since 2017. Tim Cook, Apple CEO, and Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX CEO, are among the 17 US executives accompanying Trump to China. Other tech CEOs on the trip include Sanjay Mehrotra, Micron, Chuck Robbins, Cisco, Cristiano Amon, Qualcomm, and Dina Powell, McCormick, Meta. Jensen Huang, NVIDIA CEO, will not attend the trip despite his close ties to Trump. The US and China agreed to a one-year truce in their trade war in October 2025, halting tariffs exceeding 100% on many goods. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian implies Trump's trip is primarily focused on technology and AI, while ABC frames it more broadly as addressing trade, Iran, and Taiwan tensions. The Guardian mentions a major deal on semiconductors seems less likely without NVIDIA, but ABC does not reference this expectation. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian.
Story 4 of 10. Federal court orders Fortescue to pay $150 to Yindjibarndi traditional owners for cultural loss. Federal court orders Fortescue to pay $150 to Yindjibarndi traditional owners for cultural loss. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Federal Court Justice Stephen Burley ordered Fortescue to pay $100,000 in compensation to the Yindjibarndi Ngurra Aboriginal Corporation, Wainak, for cultural loss, with an additional $100,000 for economic loss. The compensation is the largest native title payout in Australian history, following a decades-long legal battle. The Solomon Hub iron ore mine, operated by Fortescue, has generated an estimated $80 billion in revenue since operations began in 2013. The Yindjibarndi people were awarded exclusive native title rights to their land, including the Solomon Hub mine area, in 2017. The compensation claim was lodged in 2022 after Fortescue's King's failed appeal of the Yindjibarndi's native title claim. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian states Fortescue sought to cap compensation at $8 million, while the ABC says Fortescue argued for a cap of $8.1 million. The Guardian specifies the economic loss awarded was $100,000, while the ABC states it was $150,000. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian.
Story 5 of 10. Porepunkah property owner Andrew Swift breaks silence on Dezi Freeman shooting aftermath. Porepunkah property owner Andrew Swift breaks silence on Dezi Freeman shooting aftermath. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Andrew Swift, 56, is the owner of the Rainer Track, Porepunkah property, where Dezi Freeman shot and killed 2 police officers on August 26, 2025. The 2 officers killed were Detective Senior Constable Neil Thompson, 59, and Senior Constable Vadim Dewart Hottart, 35. Swift described finding a wounded officer with a gunshot to the lower body, covered in blood, and attempted to assist by fetching a more suitable vehicle for transport. Dezi Freeman fled into the bush after the shooting and was shot dead by police in a confrontation on March 30th, 2026, after a 7-month manhunt. The Swifts, Andrew and Rebecca, allowed Freeman and others to live on their 20-acre bush block. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 and 2 mention Andrew Swift was the only eyewitness outside of police and Freeman's family. But Article 3 does not explicitly state this, only that he was an eyewitness. Article 1 states the Swifts had gone to ground since Freeman fled, while Article 2 and 3 describe them as having remained silent until now, without mentioning going to ground. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au.
Story 6 of 10. Australia's 2026 federal budget, tax reforms, cost of living measures, and economic outlook. Australia's 2026 federal budget, tax reforms, cost of living measures, and economic outlook. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Treasurer Jim Chalmers announced a $250 annual Working Australians tax offset, WATO, starting from the 2027-28 income year, benefiting over 13.3 million workers. The WATO will cost the budget $6.4 billion over 4 years, with the delay until 2027-28 attributed to avoiding inflationary pressures. A new $1,000 instant tax deduction for work-related expenses will apply from the 2026-27 income year, benefiting 6.2 million workers, 42% of taxpayers, with an average saving of $205. The 50% capital gains tax, CGT discount for assets held over 12 months will be replaced by an inflation-based discount, with a minimum 30% tax rate on gains, excluding pensioners and income support recipients. Negative gearing will be limited to new builds only, with existing investment properties exempt, starting from budget night, May 12, 2026. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states that WATO will benefit more than 13 million working Australians, while Article 2 specifies more than 13.3 million workers. And Article 4 says 13 million Australian workers, with no consensus on the exact number. Article 1 claims the WATO will start in 2027-28, while Article 3 states it will begin from the second half of 2027, which could imply a slight timing discrepancy. Article 1 mentions the budget deficit is $31.5 billion, while Article 2 states it is about $2.8 billion better than was forecast 6 months ago, but does not provide the exact MYFO comparison figure. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au.
Story 7 of 10. PCOS renamed to PMOS after global collaboration for better awareness and care. PCOS renamed to PMOS after global collaboration for better awareness and care. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, has been renamed to polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome, PMOS, after 14 years of collaboration between international societies and patient groups across 6 continents. The renaming was announced at the European Congress of Endocrinology in Prague on May 12, 2026, and published in The Lancet. The name change was spearheaded by Prof. Helena Tida, Director of Melbourne's Monash Centre for Health Research and Implementation. PMOS affects approximately 170 million women worldwide, or 1 in 8 women. The new name reflects the condition's broader impact on metabolism, diabetes risk, cardiovascular health, and mental health, not just reproductive issues. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian mentions a transition period before full implementation of the new name, while the ABC does not specify this detail. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian.
Story 8 of 10. Australian government delays and responds to gambling reform report amid criticism. Australian government delays and responds to gambling reform report amid criticism. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The government's formal response to the Murphy Gambling Reform Report was tabled on 2026-05-12, Budget Day, over 1,000 days after the report was handed down in June 2023. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced a gambling reform package on April 2, 2026, including partial restrictions on gambling ads, TV radio opt-out rules, stadium sports jumper bans, and a 2027 implementation date. The Murphy Report called for a total ban on online gambling advertising, a national online gambling regulator, and prohibitions on inducement advertising. Independent MP Monique Ryan criticised the government for burying the response on Budget Day, calling it political cynicism and a betrayal of trust. The government's response notes the 31 recommendations but defers key details, e.g. enforcement, operator rules, to legislative drafting, with reforms set to begin January 1st, 2027. But not all outlets told the same story. The ABC states the government's response was tabled on 2026-05-12 at 06:20:45, while The Guardian does not specify an exact time, but implies it was released during budget lockup on the same date. The ABC reports the delay was over 1,000 days, specifically 1,000 plus days since June 2023, while The Guardian states it was 1,049 days since the report was tabled in Parliament. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian.
Story 9 of 10. Australia's 2026 to 27 capital gains tax reforms and their economic impacts. Australia's 2026-27 capital gains tax reforms and their economic impacts. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The 50% capital gains tax discount for assets held over 12 months will be replaced with inflation-adjusted indexation from July 1st, 2027, with a minimum 30% tax rate on capital gains applying from July 1st, 2028. The reforms are expected to raise an additional $3.6 billion over the next 5 years, according to the Australian government. The principal place of residence, PPOR, remains exempt from capital gains tax under the reforms. Investors in new home builds will retain the option to use the 50% CGT discount when selling, while subsequent purchases of new builds will not be eligible for the discount or negative gearing. The government will consult on the interaction of the CGT reforms with incentives for investment in early stage and startup businesses, acknowledging the sector's unique characteristics. But not all outlets told the same story. News Kamau states that the 50% CGT discount will apply to the difference between the asset's cost base and its value at July 1st, 2027. While ABC does not provide specific details on how the transitional valuation will be calculated for assets like property, News Kamau describes the reforms as once-in-a-generation overhaul to capital gains tax, while ABC frames it as a return to the pre-1999 indexation system, implying less radical change. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au.
Story 10. of 10. ICC arrest warrant for Dela Rosa and Duterte, family political turmoil in Philippines. ICC arrest warrant for Dela Rosa and Duterte, family political turmoil in Philippines. Here's what every outlet agrees on. International Criminal Court, ICC, issued an arrest warrant for Philippine Senator Ronald Maripon Dela Rosa on 6 November 2025, confirmed publicly on 11th May 2026. Dela Rosa fled Philippine agents inside the Senate building on 11th May 2026, captured on CCTV, and was placed under Senate protective custody. Philippine Vice President Sara Duterte was ordered to face a Senate trial on 11th of May 2026 over allegations of corruption, bribery, misuse of public funds, and unexplained wealth. The Philippine lower house voted 255 to 63, 255 out of 318 MPs, to impeach Sara Duterte, surpassing the one-third threshold required. Sara Duterte is accused of making threats against President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the First Lady, and former House Speaker Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states, Sara Duterte's impeachment vote was 255 out of 318 MPs. While Guardian does not specify the exact vote count, but confirms the threshold was surpassed. ABC mentions Sara Duterte's impeachment was previously struck down by the Supreme Court in 2025 over a procedural flaw, while Guardian does not reference this earlier attempt. ABC includes a quote from Bienvenido Abante about the impeachment being about conscience, duty, and the country's future, which Guardian does not mention. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian.